up, y'all?
There he is. And
What's up, y'all?
we have Leon.
Is this me treating the couch like a bobsled? Are we all squeezing here? Is that what
Always trying to take my seat. Everybody wants to be the driver.
Well, guys, this is amazing because I don't know when is the last time you've all been together, but this is a big deal.
We get together for poker every week.
Oh. How does that go?
It doesn't.
Well, I mean, Cool Runnings, obviously, it is hitting 32 years in October, which is insane.
Oh, that much.
Yeah, does it feel like it's been that long ago for you guys?
How many people here were not born when this movie came out?
You don't have to go that far.
Okay, that's good.
Oh gosh. Well, when was the last time you guys saw it?
2 years ago. I watch it every night.
I watched a piece of it on a plane because someone next to me was watching it. And I was like, and they kept going like this to me.
That's amazing. You know, I feel like the only way this film works is because you guys had to establish such a good bond. So what was that like for you guys trying to form that friendship?
There is no friendship or bond.
No friendship at all. You all know each other.
I don't think we had to try. I think it just kind of happened when we showed up on the set. It was a natural.
Yeah, I think that, I think most people, we all like kind of just became our roles. I'm very much that type of an actor. So, I like to become my characters. And so I kind of bonded with Dougie Doug. And I treated Malik as if he was a bully. And,
Still treats me like that.
and Raw, sometimes I remember he was here.
Are any of you guys similar to your characters at all?
Are we still in touch?
Are you similar to your characters?
Similar. Yeah, I did live in Buckingham Palace for a while. They didn't realize I was in there. Secret entrance.
I was like my character when I was young, but then heartbreak and, bankruptcy, that'll change a person.
Well, it will.
Yeah. Acid reflux.
Yeah, I'm a bit like my character in some regards. And, I feel like I'm committed and determined, trying to achieve things.
I think when I was younger, I was closer to my character, but like I grew up, became a man.
One does, yes.
At least I think I am.
Yeah, I think, see, now that Leon made us take it seriously, let me think. Yul Brynner, I can't remember, Lamtan. Definitely a big dreamer. Yeah, Yul Brynner definitely believed in the impossible, that idea that he could live in Buckingham Palace, and I definitely hold dreams that scare me on a regular, because you have to.
Yes.
If it doesn't scare you, you're not doing it.
I'm curious to know, how long did it take you guys to perfect those Jamaican accents?
We never did.
Yeah.
If you ask some Jamaicans, it's perfect.
It was constantly changing because we were constantly getting notes, especially me, about the accent. Disney didn't want to make Jamaican film. They didn't want to speak in patois. They actually told me that they wanted me to sound like
From Under the Sea. They wanted you to.
they wanted me to be a black Aladdin.
Yeah.
They said, no, you're the lead character. We have to understand every single word you're saying. We're having a hard time right now. I'm like, okay.
They wanted to sell it to the Midwest. They were kind of concerned.
They wanted to sell it to y'all, and it worked.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know, say me sound like a Jamaican, I can't really understand what you're talking
What's
about.
subtitles?
You're going like a real Jamaican, them can't understand. So you have to make it clear so them can understand what you're talking about. Do you understand? You don't really know.
What Malik is saying is, it would be incomprehensible if we spoke as an actual, just authentic
Exactly. What a
Jamaican.
man chat about. In Jamaica, you say what a man chat about. You can't use that in a Disney movie.
No way, you don't know.
You can't chat.
Why,
the
no
way
yard,
that.
no
That
yard
kind of
tone.
speaking would
No
be
yard
totally
tone.
difficult for the
No
African
yard
American
tone.
to understand.
Yard tone is a reference to Jamaican authentic accent.
I come and cook some good food, some can saltfish and steamed dumpling and banana.
Malik is going down on the Jamaican menu. It is quite delicious.
Now, back to America.
Did you guys get any complaints from actual Jamaicans about your accent?
That's what we're talking about.
Oh yeah, you know.
Yeah, man. Some Jamaicans say, Malik, I want this. No, it depends. It's the funniest thing when you do accent work because depending upon who is listening, they hear it differently, right? I do a lot of accents and have done plays and films and various accents. So whether you're African, Haitian, Jamaican, Sierra Leone, like depending on the ear of the person listening, they'll say, you sound nothing, you need to go stop, you need to just quit your job. So I'm sure we've all heard that from some. And or they'll take a screenshot and like, yo, bro, what is this bullshit, you know?
Hey, there's kids here.
Well, I think some Jamaicans were upset with the accent, but then some were like, you guys were fine, you know. But
Listen, okay, there's some Jamaicans that are just upset, period. Okay? And they got nothing to do with the accent. Okay? Just stay vexed.
I mean,
they just sound.
truthfully, there's a lot of dialects and a lot of ways that Jamaicans speak. So, just like America. And so some people may be sounding more British, some people. So, you know, my father's from Jamaica, and he lived in America. He lived in America for many, many years. And so, people, when he went back to Jamaica, they were just kind of like, you know, not understanding him. So, just like any kind of language, it becomes fluid and the terminology changes and so forth. So, it's hard to capture a moment in time. We tried our best, and I'm so sorry.
No, you guys did great. So I read that production had to deal with a lot of different environmental factors while shooting, from like shooing away birds to creating fake snow. So what do you remember about any of that?
I remember that the track, the Olympic track in Calgary, when we were filming, was unseasonably warm. Supposedly, the way it was in the 1988 Calgary Olympics, it was very warm, so the ice was melting a bit. And we liked it that it was warm.
Yeah. It's called a Chinook.
I mean, they weren't happy with the filming. We're like, yeah, this is temperature we can deal with. Let us act like it's cold. We don't need to actually be cold.
National sport, yes. Yeah. Well, what was training like for this film? Did you guys do any stunt work at all?
We did all our own stunts.
Right, like Tom Cruise over
We
there.
crashed the sled. Do you believe that? Don't believe that. We had to train like real athletes. We had to first we started off with the track,
Yeah.
learn how to run like track, actual runners, and then we had to learn the push start, and we had 2 simulators, right? The tracks, and then
And we got Malik working out in the gym. Thank you very much.
We mostly had to train to run, and they were interested in making sure we looked like we could run and jump
Athlete.
in the sled. So we had to perfect running and all synchronized jumping into
Push
the
start.
into the.
That seemed hard.
it is hard.
It was.
I think, you know, all actors have different approaches, you know, to their roles and making movies. For me, always, it is the very first time you see the character, they should believe you are who you are. So I would have pictures of runners and things in my room, because if you don't believe that I'm a track star about to go to the Olympics from the way I look, I can't take you anywhere. But once you believe that, then I have you believe in a story like Cool Runnings. You know what I'm saying? I can take you to the moon and back. So it's very important, I think, when you're training for anything, you know, to try to let the audience see that you are that person. Because once they believe that, then it's just about the story.
There you go. Well, you know, well, toward the end of the film,
Actors workshop right here.
well, toward the end of the film, we all see you guys carrying the bobsled. What challenges came with that scene? Because I'm curious, like, was it heavy? Did they, like, what was that like?
Yeah, it was heavy.
Yeah, how many times did you shoot that scene?
They actually had to lighten it. When we first lifted it, it was way too heavy,
Oh my goodness.
to be honest. And also,
The bobsled's about 600 pounds.
yeah, and we were standing on ice and trying to lift it, so it was a little bit dangerous. So they actually had to lighten it. And I think it was the only time we really said, I think you guys need to lighten this. Like, we pretty much didn't complain in the movie.
No, remember they wanted to do the snowman
Oh, that's right.
with the split?
Yeah,
They thought that was going to be funny. And we were like, nah.
For those of you who may not be street savvy, a spliff is a joint of weed. Okay, just so you know what he's talking about.
For the
We
Jamaican
thought that was a
in
little
here.
too stereotypical Jamaican. So you're like, you don't need to have a snowman with a big joint in his mouth just to make a point. So
Yeah.
we pushed back on a few things that we thought could have been.
Yeah, I pushed back on that snowman right away. I just stole the joint.
It's a Disney film. Well, do you guys still have the team snowsuit or any of that gear?
We were just talking about that. Used to.
I have the latest outfit that they just went to the Olympics in last year. Only because I did a special with Kevin Hart, like the Winter Olympics. And at the end of it, because the bobsled team was there, like they had them zoomed in on the cameras on NBC. And at the end, I ripped off my coat and they saw this bobsled and they went crazy. So yeah, that was the last time I was in it. Luckily, I can still fit.
Yeah, I have the actual lucky egg from the movie.
Yeah, I wish you think that it's worth. How much would y'all be willing to pay for that? Let's see how much it's worth, bro. On an open market.
Auction it off like
It's my nest egg.
Bidding starts at 25,000. Is that right? I still have. I take a lot of shit from that movie.
Tell us more.
I took the snow. No, just kidding. No. I still have my gloves. I still have my room key from my hotel in Calgary. I still have the gym membership that we got when we worked out, and I had some boots we dry rotted.
So let me give you a little backstory here, okay? Because you're probably wondering, damn, these actors take all that stuff from movies. That was Malik's first movie.
That was mine. So it was my first studio picture. I'd done 2 small movies before that, but that was the first movie that was worth anything I could take with me.
Right, it was the first movie they actually gave a hotel room. So he was like, oh,
That's
she's
right.
this key. That's right.
Still got it.
Man, I didn't take anything. I didn't know you could take stuff.
You should have.
I still have the script. I still have the binder with all the stuff in it.
I'm wondering, like, how much would that all be worth now? That's, yeah.
Now,
It's worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. No, the egg. Bid starting at 50,000.
It went up. It was 25,000 before. Okay, well, of course we can't talk about Cool Runnings without talking about John Candy. Yeah. So what was it like working with him? What did you learn from working with him?
There's an empty seat. We've never done an interview where there's been an empty seat. So let's ask John. The spirit of John. I think this is symbolic. Are y'all with me?
Just don't ask some difficult question. I don't know if he's ready for all that.
Wow. I'm in a spiritual moment right now. I'm so
No, he was a very sweet man, beautiful man.
Generous, just a great guy to be around. And you know what it is? He was genuinely, really happy to be doing this movie.
Yeah.
Because it was a different type of movie for him. You know, it wasn't a movie in which, you know, it was a serious movie for him for the most part. I mean, although it was a comedy, for him he got to play a very serious role. And this movie originally was a very serious movie. They turned it into a comedy. And when John Candy actually got cast, because I was already cast, I was shocked. But
who was the actor originally? Wasn't it
Kurt
Russell.
well, those are people. It was Kurt Russell,
Kurt
and,
Russell.
and what was the other guy's name?
that ends up in the Apollo movie?
You know this guy, Glenn.
Oh,
Scott Glenn.
Yeah, Scott Glenn. So you can see how serious they were going. You know, but they changed it around once they got a different director, John Turteltaub, and it worked out great.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was so kind. Like the way I was expecting to meet a movie star, and I just met a person. And I think his pathos and his heart, he was just such a great person. And I kind of.
You talking about John or me?
Definitely
Candy,
talk about you.
Definitely John Candy. No.
Speaking of that,
Yeah.
one thing that always stayed with me, he had never taken a vacation. So when we did Cool Runnings, that was the first time he had ever been on an island. And he was only 42 years old when he passed. So we're all actually, you know, past that age at this point. And for him, he said that he never took a vacation because he was afraid if he stopped working, no one would hire him. So that is a reality for a lot of actors in Hollywood, this idea that, you know, this could be my last job. And for a lot of people, it might be, you know. So that was something that I think that he never took for granted. And I think the other thing that always stayed with me when he said, you're only as weak as you're only strong as your weakest link. And he would just talk about make every moment in a movie work. So he really fostered a sense of collaboration. And sometimes actors don't always have that spirit. You know, they really like work with an actor, yo, I killed so-and-so in that scene. I'm like, bro, we're on the same team. What are you talking about? Like, why are you trying to compete with another actor? Like, we have an
that's
opportunity to
ridiculous.
bring deeper truth out of each other, or humor, whatever that might be, then we work best as a film, and he had that spirit.
Well, you know, given that you're working with John, and he's very comedic, or was very comedic, were there a lot of moments for improv? Was there pranks on set, hijinks?
Yeah, I can answer that one. Yeah. It was a constant improv. Yeah, it was in terms of even me and his rapport, and it was great. And the director, John Turteltaub, was very encouraging of that. And so we did a lot of physical bits, like a lot of the physical bits are improvised because we were all just kind of sitting around. Well, what do we do here? What do we do there? So it was great from a comedic point of view, and it's fantastic to have another comic performer who's so well recognized. And as to Leon's point, he made space. You know, he recognized what you can do together, and so we danced together and played together. And I think that's always great with comedians. You know, he was really, he's a lover of comedy, and he was a master of comedy. You know, behind all of the silliness, he's a brilliant comedic mind. So.
And also just, yeah, you can clap for that. Yeah. Clap for him. He hears you. But being able to bring even the song into the movie, which I wrote for my audition. Enough people say that they can't believe Jamaica, we have a bobsled team. I wrote that for my audition. So I showed up for my audition with a song, because every Jamaican has a song in their heart, whether they can sing or not, whether it's your cab driver, the cook, the bellman, your brother, whoever. Every Jamaican, I sing some song, right? And so when I auditioned, they said, you know, you guys are track stars, you've won a race, celebrate. And so I pulled the song out. And so Dawn Steele, who was the producer of the movie, asked me, you know, would you like to put the song in the movie? And so that's how that ended up in the film. But it was never the original script.
So cool. Well, Other than Cool Runnings, what would you say is your favorite sports film?
I go with Rocky.
Yeah.
Rocky,
Okay,
I
Rocky.
like the underdog story, that whole thing. Yeah, I would go with Rocky, man.
So, did it change as you got older? So as a kid, there were favorite sports movies, at least for me.
Yeah, it might have, but I think, well, as a kid, it was Cool Runnings.
So for me, as a kid, it was Bad News Bears.
Oh,
And then I was a BMXer, so there was a film called Rad that came
Yes.
out. I was 16 or 17, so when that movie came out, that was for me, was everything.
You're like thinking on it, I can see.
I think it's
I don't know if I have a favorite sports movie other than Cool Runnings. I mean, there's ones that I really like. Like, I think someone who just passed away, the great Gene Hackman, made a great movie called Hoosiers. And, yeah, there's a few. I mean, and then it depends on what you consider a sports movie, because Chariots of Fire was a great film, and that's a sports movie, not your typical sport, but a great movie as well. So.
And there's the, when I think I was 10 years old, I saw a great sports movie, and Leon had a small part in All the Right Moves.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
not
yeah.
movies, yeah.
Well, it's about a small town, it's about people trying to come up.
Yeah, Allentown.
You can relate to that.
Yeah. Well, before we open up for Q&A, because I want to make sure fans can get some questions in with you as well, I want to hear from you guys about how much this film impacted your life.
How much this film impacted my life? I don't know. Career, probably. You know, I mean, this movie has brought me a lot of great joy. Probably one of the best moments for me would be my daughter, Noelle, who in 4th grade, she went to school and they said, this morning we're going to watch a film instead of class, and then we're going to discuss it afterwards. And Cool Runnings comes on in their class. And of course, every student in her class goes. So that was great to hear that the film was being used in an educational way. That's, you know, I never thought about that when I made it, so it's fantastic.
I think it's amazing that it's like 31 years later. 32 years later, and it's still, I think it's impacting me every time I show up at one of these things. I'm like, wow, this thing's still going on? And it's like amazing that there's that many people in the cheers right now to see us 32 years later. So.
Yeah, I can't help but kind of echo Leon's sentiments, because it's always interesting to see the impact of something you did a long time ago on your children and in your children's world. Now, my daughter is not a child anymore, she's an adult, she's in the workplace. But it's interesting, when she transitioned into finance, of all places, she was doing her rotations, and you know, people were like, oh, you're an interesting young lady, well, what do your parents do? You know, so she said, oh, my father's an actor. and then they're like, well, whatever, is there anything I know him in? Or whatever. Well, you know, have you ever seen this movie Cool Runnings? She was like, her supervisor was like, oh, really? Does he know Dougie Doug? That's funny. Things like that are very interesting.
So as Leon said, you know, Cool Runnings for me was my first feature. So I literally was, I was the vice president of a youth program called City Kids Foundation. And that was my life from the age of 19 to the time I went to go do this film. And we had a repertory company, but I wasn't really interested in performing in the repertory company. I was more interested in working with the young people and running the education programs, and that was truly my North Star. It's only when the grant ran out that was paying me that they had, I go to work one day, I'm volunteering, there's a sign on the wall for an audition, and it was paying $325 a day. And my boss could no longer pay me, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna do that audition. I did grow up as a theater kid. I was in musical theater my whole life, studied elementary, middle school, high school, but I personally didn't like the idea of people telling me when I could work. So I didn't want to pursue acting, and at that time, I was the vice president of a national organization at 23 years old, making $36,000 a year in the 90s. And to me, as a kid with no college education, you couldn't tell me nothing, right? And that work had me on places like Oprah and Arsenio. Demi Moore was our spokesperson of the organization, so you can see footage of me on Arsenio with Demi Moore before Cool Runnings comes out. And so I had an interesting journey into the film business. And so I'd gone on an open call for Cool Runnings. So Raw has a similar story. And I get a call 2 months later. I'm at Greenpeace at a meeting about saving the whales, literally. And Disney tracked me down at that meeting and said, hey, we saw your tape, can you fly to LA tomorrow to screen test? And I called my boss and I said, hey, remember that thing I auditioned for 2 months ago? They called me, they want me to fly to LA tomorrow. And I flew to LA, and that was actually in 1991. And the movie, I got the role, but then the movie was dropped. 8 months later, they called back and said, hey, as Leon said, it was originally a drama, and said, hey, there's a new director, he'd like to meet you. I was like, nah, I'm busy. I was like, nah, y'all ain't getting me again, to fly to LA, the screen test. I'm busy recording an album, which still hasn't come out, by the way. But I was busy focused on music, because music I felt I could control, right? I could sing right now and do a show. You don't have to, there's no action and cut. You can create your own path. And so when Cool Runnings came out, within 5 months, I got 2 Miramax films, an AT&T commercial, Law and Order, and then the book New York Undercover. So it was literally, for me, oh, I guess I'm doing this thing now. And so, to what the gentlemen have said, to know that this is a film that has touched multi-generations in the same family is incredible. And one of my favorite moments with the film was I was in Miami I was at a restaurant, and some little girl comes up behind me, she's like 6. She said, hey, were you in Cool Runnings? And I said, yeah. I started talking to her dad, and he says, we used the film as a training film for our sales staff. And the company he worked for was Citrix, that does go-to meetings, right? Some of you incorporate, that company. And they were just about to hit the $1 billion mark as a company. This was 2005. And he says, we used the film. I was like, bro, why don't you hire me? I'll come in, because I didn't know that I do a lot of motivational speaking. So I ended up getting hired at a really good number to come. In fact, I made almost more than half of what I made on the movie, true story, just to come speak based on the film. So the film continued to pay dividends from the music, the song I wrote, as well as being able to leverage it in other business situations. So.
With that, let's open up for Q&A.